Welcome back again to Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy, where the proof is in the singing. You probably got to this video because you just came off of watching my 5 huge mistakes that singers make, and I want to be able to elaborate on those in more detail. So I'm going to start with number 1, and the first one is not preparing to sing in different environments. Now, why is this important? Well, let me give you an example. In this room right now, there is a certain amount of echo, right? Ambient echo. And so I can kind of rely on that, kind of like someone singing in the shower. Some guy goes in the shower, he thinks he sounds great in the shower because there's a lot of reverb in the shower, and he can't really get the exactness of pitch and notes, and he doesn't necessarily have to sing anything heavy or loud. He can sing in falsetto, and everything kind of sounds good because of all of the reverb. But if you take that same person out of the shower and you put him in the middle of a field outside, he's going to go, oh my gosh, I can hear every little detail of my voice and maybe not even hear my voice at all, and struggle considerably because it's a completely different environment. So what I strongly recommend is if you're practicing a song for a school play or a band or a church service or whatever that is, to do it in your environment and work it up first. Something you're used to, something that feels good. Absolutely stick with that environment until you're satisfied, you feel comfortable in that environment. Then take it to your car and go in the car and play it, and you're going to notice it's different. You hear it differently. There's more compression in the room. It's a smaller environment. Then when you're done with that, go outside and see, oh my gosh, like I said, I can hardly hear myself. Go to a park or your backyard or whatever and see the difference of how different it is singing in a different environment. And try to do this in a few different places, and especially if you have access to the very venue you're going to be singing, try to go to that venue and practice in the venue. And it's kind of like a home field advantage, so to speak. You're going to find that you're able to really have a good command of this because you're really comfortable. You're not out of your element. You have really good comfortability, just a comfortableness. But you'll feel comfortable about it. Just watch my tongue. I can't do a thing with it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is practicing only enough just to get by. Now, a lot of people do this because they feel, okay, yeah, I'm good enough to go. So they put in their 20 minutes or 30 minutes. So let's play out a scenario here. Let's say you're only singing one song, and one song is 4 minutes long. And let's say, you're not doing Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy. Let's say you're just, and I cover this with all of my students too, because when I talk to my students about this, I bust their chops on this all the time. Well, they'll do a warm up, and then they'll sing a song 2 or 3 times, and they feel like they've nailed it. Well, no, you haven't nailed it. And in fact, when your adrenaline is pumping and you have, you're kind of anaerobic, which means in the absence of oxygen, because your nerves are kicking in, you're kind of out of breath. You want to be able to practice that song also in different environments and hopefully with different people. So you want to do it maybe 10 times back to back if your voice can handle it. So you're going to want to be able to do this song, and believe it or not, you might even want to practice it up a half step. Practice in pitch, in intonation, tuning it up a half step or even a full step, and practicing up higher in pitch than you normally do. Now, here's the problem that happens. Most people pick a song that's just a little out of their reach. Everyone kind of sings at the threshold, the top of their range, and there might be that one note or one phrase or something that's kind of problematic, and sometimes you can sing it and sometimes you can't. I suggest, especially if you're getting started, you start out with something well within your range, so it's really easy to do to build up confidence first, and then as you progress as a singer, you can take on more challenging things, okay? That's very, very important. So don't just practice enough to get by, but use a lot of different elements, hey, your best friend, hey, Joe, can I practice this in front of you a couple times? Maybe your dog's in the corner, you practice your dog's, that's a thumbs up from your dog. Your family members go to karaoke if it's a cover song and not an original. Practice it in different environments so that you feel really comfortable in your skin doing it. The third thing is that, panicking, and people do the dumbest things when they panic. And they'll go, I woke up this morning and my throat feels a little swollen and I'm kind of dry, and, does anybody have anything out there that I can use? And Joe Blow goes, hey man, I got this throat coat stuff that everybody is, give it to me. And they take all this, these elixirs, and they do it. Well, I want to use, throat coaty kinds of things. I'm not naming that out as a name brand. I'm just going to generalize for a second. Most of these coating agents have glycerin. And glycerin is a form of sugar. And so that glycerin sits on the cord And at first, it feels good to the throat. That might even have some mentholatum or eucalyptus or something to kind of clear you up. But after it seats in the throat, in the cords, and you get kind of a mucus sensation, you find yourself clearing your throat a lot. When you do that, it scrapes the cords with air, and it actually makes or helps you to go hoarse, and you lose phonation, which is sound. And that means that the cords are not getting good closure like this. And so you're pushing more air. And the more you do this, and this is especially true for people that have to sing more than one song. They're going to sing 10 songs or something. So they're panicking or whatever. Go with things that you know. So in this scenario, I'll give you an example. You wake up with a swollen throat, or you're not your best, or you didn't sleep that good the night before, or whatever. What you want to do, the order in which you want to practice this is, let's say your show is at 7 p.m. All right. And in Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy, I tell all my students to do this. You want to warm up to about the 30 to 15 minute mark before performance. Okay. Not right up to performance necessarily, but 30 minutes, 15 minutes, somewhere in that window. So you have to back up the clock a little bit, and you got to say, okay, so if the show's at 7, Ken says I should be ready for its showtime 6:45. 6:30, somewhere in there. I want to back that up. Let's say I'm going to warm up for 30 minutes, 40 minutes. So around, the 5:30, 5:45 mark, I'm going to start gently warming up my voice. Okay. And then by the time 6:45 rolls around, I got 15 minutes. I'll come do a lip drill, maybe sing the song I'm going to sing or the first song I'm going to sing in a set. And then I'm kind of good to go. And when I hit the stage, I don't go, hog wild and scream and yell and hit and sing and put my hardest song up first. I pace myself. I pace myself through the song. So even if you wake up with a froggy throat or something, you have the tools to get through this with the correct information rather than taking something that you're not used to. Ken also said, hey, don't eat an hour before the show because you'll get a bunch of gas and start regurgitating. You could acid reflux, whatever. Don't eat spicy foods. Don't drink carbonated beverages. So do all these things to do so that as you do these, and if let's say you're a touring musician, you do this night after night, it becomes a regimen, becomes a discipline or a routine. And this routine gives you the confidence to go, hey, you know what? No matter what, I know that I'm going to be at least 80%. I may not be 100%, or I may be 110%, but I know I'm going to be in there somewhere without doing something that I'm not used to, or that I just quickly run in and grab some throat spray or something. The second thing is, a lot of people, I said, don't believe your press, good or bad. This is going back to, the five worst things that, 5 horrible things that singers do. Huge mistakes, actually. 5 huge mistakes singers do. They have their confidence based on what other people think about them, or based on their last show, or based on some thing that happens in the show, guitar player's amp goes out, or something. And so they panic and they freak out because of their own lack of confidence, or overly confident, meaning, well, I got this, and then something happens and they're not prepared for that thing. Okay. So I suggest to you, just don't listen to anybody. Just be who you are. Do what you do. Know what you know. Go through this going, okay, let's talk about this in or exercising terms. I'm training for a marathon. Okay. Not that you're going to in singing, but let's say you do. And let's say you have 15 songs you're going to sing night after night. I'm training for this marathon. The body is a group of muscles. I know the throat is a little more fragile. I get that. But if you train for the marathon, you're not going to one day go, I can't do the marathon. Unless you get a bronchitis or something. But less shy of that, you're going to train for this marathon, and you're going to say to yourself, well, my time wasn't necessarily 8-minute miles or 10-minute miles or whatever I want to run, but I know that I'm within 80% of what I know I'm capable of doing. This is really, really, really important. So no matter what anybody says to you, good or bad, you know what your game is. You want to be on your game. You know what that is. So you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to finish this marathon in this much time, and I may have a longer time or a shorter time, but no matter what, I finish the marathon. I know how to finish the marathon, and I don't need anybody telling some magazine saying I sucked, or some grandpa telling me I have the greatest thing since cheeseburgers, and I'm overly confident, and so I do something stupid. Go with what you know. Go with your training. Go with your regimen. Go with your routine. Do this thing, and then you will find success consistently if you do what I'm telling you to do. Finally, last thing is, I said don't over-rehearse in the 5 huge mistakes that singers make. Well, we actually kind of do want to overtrain in training time. When it's time to train, yes, we want to train and train well and train correctly and train along. Absolutely. But come showtime, what happens a lot of times, people, and I've seen this on the biggest stages where singers will like sing these songs backstage, not even warm up to try to get their voice to warm up. They'll scream and yell and do all this weird stuff. And then when it comes to showtime, they've kind of been spent. They've done some stupid stuff. So again, this all comes to having a plan, sticking with the plan. By the way, I have a singing course, you guys may or may not know that. You can find it right here at KenTamplinVocalAcademy.com, where I walk you through this like I do with all of my students, how to set up the right plan for you, for whatever thing you're gonna sing. So if it's 1 or 2 songs, there's that plan. If it's 5 songs, there's that plan. If it's 20 songs, there's that plan. Like a lot of my students too do like mastros in some of these nightclubs and restaurants where they'll sing 3 sets, 3 90-minute sets a night, and they'll do that 4 or 5 times a week. That comes some serious pacing. So you've got the guy that sings 1 song, and you got this guy that sings for 3 or 4 hours, and everything in between. So we design a program just for yourself, a routine, stick with it, and I promise you will find success, okay? Hopefully this information was helpful, and definitely stick around for my next video.